Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt here with Linda Armstrong and Rita Giganti. Today is Friday, April the 10th, 2020. It's 4 p.m. New York time. Wherever you are in the world, thanks for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And we are happily moving through this quarantine period and staying in that high vibration place. And we figured we want you to join us here too, in case you're not. So that's why we do these shows 5 days a week. And I've got two of the best high vibe people I have on my team working with me today.
Thank you.
Rita and Linda are here to just lift you right up. So guys, how you doing? Rita, what's happening in your neck of the woods?
Oh, well, I mean, I'm loving the time to be able to, catch up on some reading and doing some writing. And, you think because we're quarantined, like there's nothing to do, but there's plenty to do.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I was outside a couple of days when it was nice out, and I was raking the lawn and doing some weeding, and that was good to be out a little. It really was. It was really good to be out. So you got to get outside and just breathe the air.
No doubt about that. I've been getting out every opportunity that I could. In fact, I just went out just to go get the mail, which is a little bit of a distance from the house. So, just to get out, just to be out for a few minutes. Which is
Did either of you guys have the experience of like a little mini blizzard today? Twice?
Yes, twice.
Yeah, twice.
Wow.
Yeah,
didn't see
looked
that.
like a little squall.
Yeah.
It was actually very pretty because then the sun was coming out as it was happening. So it was a little mystical.
So it was a snow, a sun snow, I guess.
A sun snow.
I don't
know what to call it, but
yeah,
fabulous.
That's cool. That's all right. So I take it that other than the sun snow squall, everything's good with you too, Linda?
Yeah, things are going good. It's interesting how during this time things can come up for you. Maybe we'll touch on that today, even though we're going to talk about things that you can do. I forget what we're talking about.
Oh, we got a whole list of things actually.
Right. Okay.
And really, you may not have intended it this way, but this is kind of like a continuation of what we talked about yesterday. Dan Mangana, Alex King, and I brought up I don't know if you heard the latest news. I know most of us are trying to stay away from the news during this time, but this one was kind of pretty large. The idea that all these ventilators that they've been asking for turns out are being counterproductive. They're actually killing patients off faster than they're healing them. And so some doctors have been trying alternatives to see, well, if the ventilators aren't going to help, what can they do? And they've been trying some various alternatives, and the alternatives have been effective. In fact, J.K. Rowling published a video of I think it was a New York doctor, giving his advice on what to do to help with breathing, because that's what it's really all about. I mean, the ventilators are to help people who need help with breathing. And apparently, when a coronavirus patient is in critical condition, it's because they're having trouble breathing. They just aren't getting enough oxygen.
Right.
Interesting thing about what the doctor said in his video, he was basically talking about the same kind of breathing techniques we use when we do meditation. Basically just taking,
just
taking deep breaths and whatever it takes to take deep breaths. Now, of course, he was doing it from, the physical point of view, the point of view of what physical medicine would say to do, but it was essentially the same thing.
Right.
So that kind of becomes a launching point, I think, for today's discussion, because how cool, first of all, in LOA circles and related circles, we've been talking about this for ages, right? So it's nice to know that the thing we've been talking about actually is something that some elements of modern medicine are tying into during this pandemic. That felt pretty cool. And like the doctor said something really interesting at the end of the video. He says, don't wait until you're sick to start doing this. I thought, wow, now there's a good message for people to hear, right?
Right. Yeah.
Preventative. Yeah.
Yep.
So I thought I'd throw that out there and see what you guys think of that.
So actually, I looked at my notes of what we were going to talk. Ooh, I see a huge hawk. Love it. Anyway, I get distracted by those things. We're going to talk about ways to tune into spirit, right? To tap into your higher self for guidance. Like now you have this time where we're tuning in, which actually two of the videos I just made, we're talking about this kind of thing. And that's why it was on my mind. And meditation's part of it. And some people aren't able to tune in that way. They don't know that they can. So that's why I thought, especially having Rita with us, we can talk about these different ways to tune in to receive messages from your higher self, to actually notice when you're receiving information, to be able to fine tune your way of hearing, seeing, sensing, information that we are all connected to. And of course, your breath leads you to everything.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think, just to get back to the breathing thing, there's I probably mentioned this before, but I'll say it again for anybody new that's listening. There's an app called I Breathe, and you can go on there. You download it. It's free. I Breathe, and you can customize your own breathing exercises, and then you set a timer for like every hour to breathe for 2 or 3 minutes, and it's belly breathing.
Mm-hmm.
This is belly breathing. So this is going to help expand your lungs. And like that doctor was saying, this is very helpful in creating healthy lungs. So that for people that even would contract the virus, but if they were doing this, they probably would fare much better if their lungs were in good shape. Yes. So especially those who are smokers or, have issues already. They have those little devices they send you home with after you've had like a surgery or something, and you have to breathe into it to expand your lungs, right? I mean, if anybody has one in their house, please use it. And you can probably buy it on Amazon. Sure. But that's another way to do it. Anything where breath work is concerned is going to be pivotal in helping with the lungs. And now they're saying, a good dose up on vitamin C, like 4,000 milligrams a day, and some zinc, astragalus, things like that. These things are all for the immune system. So I just wanted to clear that for a second because we were talking about the breathing stuff. But as far as tuning into spirit, my God, I mean, there's a million ways to do it. Linda, why don't you talk about how you do it, and then I'll talk about how I do it, and maybe Walt can chime in.
Okay. Funny thing is, Walt just meant this whole conversation reminds me of something I was doing a while ago that I kind of stopped doing, and I even did a video on it, and I talked about it on this show, where I would take these angel love puffs three times a day. 3 puffs 3 times a day. And the way that came about is because for me, just taking time to breathe really opens up that space where I can connect so much easier. And literally, there's nothing special about it. You just breathe. But I like to do a nice slow breath with this intention and allowing myself the possibility of expanding, right? Because if you don't know you can, then you have to think, well, maybe there's a possibility I can. So that even opens up the space even more. And I found this app because I wanted to create an app where people can remind themselves, like you were just saying, every hour or whatever. And there's this medication dispensing app called MediSafe where you program in your medications to remind you, right? And there happens to be, I guess, medication like asthma maybe with puffs. So I found this thing. I'm like, oh my God, I can give myself angel love puffs 3 times a day. And it would literally go off, and whatever I'm doing, I would just stop because we never take time to stop, right? So that actually, I don't know why I stopped doing it because I enjoyed it. Now I do it without the app. But the app did make it fun because you get this little thing and you do it and you hit the chime, then you see the little beach scenery that you've done it. It just makes it more fun.
Sure.
So basically, it's the same thing Rita was just saying about that app. What is it? I Breathe kind of reminds you to take the breaths. But just for me, it's 3 slow, easy breaths always does the trick. If you need to do more, do more.
Right. I agree with that. I think there's another thing that it's easy to overlook where breathing is concerned.
Right.
And it's something that virtually everybody who has felt themselves being affected by this pandemic situation knows about, even if they're not paying attention to the fact that they know about it. And that's the fear side of it. People have been very afraid by what's been going on here. Well, when you're afraid, your breathing becomes constricted. You tend to take very, very shallow breaths. So it's kind of no wonder that, I mean, I'm not saying this is a cause, and I want to also put out that disclaimer you need to put out with these kinds of conversations. We're not medical doctors. We're not putting out any kind of medical advice here.
Exactly.
But it's basically a fact that if you are taking shallow breaths, you are setting yourself up for any kind of situation with breathing. I mean, with any kind of, if you're dealing with a virus that is respiratory in nature, my goodness, just by having a pattern of shallow breathing, you're setting yourself up for problems once the virus kicks in, because now all of a sudden you're being reinforced on the fact that you're having trouble breathing. And it's no wonder there's more and more problem with that kind of thing where this virus is concerned.
Okay. I thought you were done.
Well, let me just continue with my thought. So with that thought in mind, I say to myself, well, we also know that where fear is concerned, fear is a low vibration state, right? It's a fearful state. It's a negative state. And when we're in a negative, fearful state like that, it becomes difficult to even, we often talk about how it's difficult to even see high vibration stuff. I mean, feeling joyful, feeling happy, it's almost out of reach sometimes when you're in that kind of a place. So you have to kind of climb out of it slowly. But, and here's where I was trying to get to. If you can start to believe that you are getting to a higher state, not a high state, but just something that feels a little bit better, just by doing something as simple as meditation, as breathing, as, any kind of affirmation work, anything that we do to get us to that higher vibration state, we start to believe that we are going to be able to breathe better, that things are going to happen that are better for us and so forth. And what I'm driving at here is what's generically called the placebo effect. If you believe that you're getting better, you're going to get better just because you believe it.
That's right.
To me, anytime I hear about these doctors who are, and this is not the majority of doctors, by the way, this is a minority who are doing these experiments on the fly, trying to help their patients to recover. But I give them a lot of credit because they're leading us in the right direction. As they are taking these steps to help us to kind of turn it around, they're also helping us to believe we can get better. Mm-hmm. And that belief factor is huge. That belief factor it's undermeasured in the medical community, I think. So I just wanted to bring that into the conversation because, Linda, you were talking about, reaching out, feeling energy, dreams, all that kind of stuff. These are all different ways to basically raise our belief level, raise our energy level, and make us accessible to the space that says, not only can I survive this thing, but if I haven't had symptoms yet, I can actually avoid it entirely just by being in a high vibration space. So I thought I'd throw that out there.
Right.
I'm just going to add to the breathing thing that, some people aren't aware they can breathe into their belly, right? So the shallow breathing is because you're only breathing to your chest. So when you meditate, at least I do, I like to bring the breath into my belly. And, when I do this with kids can do it so easy. They don't even think, breathe to my belly. Okay. I can make a fat belly so easy, right? And bypass the lungs. So if someone has difficulty feeling like they can make a connection with their breath, just play with breathing down into your belly. Now, to Rita, to me, it's like so normal, but some people aren't even aware that they can do that. And that opens up so much more space because you're not limiting yourself to just there. So you can play with both. You can breathe to your chest, breathe through your belly, breathe to both. I like to pretend I'm breathing through my hands, down out through my feet. Like these are different ways of moving the breath and getting yourself into that more imaginary space, even though physically you are actually breathing into your belly when you breathe into your belly. My imagination is what breathes up through my feet and out through my hands or whatever else I decide to do. And that could be a meditation.
When I first learned how to breathe through my belly, because I was a shallow breather, I was taught by someone who she did a lot of yoga stuff and everything, and so she said, take a bag of rice, put it on your belly, put it on your stomach, lay down, put it on your stomach, and move the bag of rice.
Uh-huh.
When you begin to move the bag of rice, you're breathing through your belly or your stomach. And that was I trained myself that way. And that was the way I continued. I had to do it for a while because I was trained another way, just from fear or anxiety. I was constantly shallow breathing. And so when I did that, it took me a while, but I'm telling you, it works and it's simple. And I'm sure everybody has something that they could put on their belly that's, heavy, that they can then move it as they breathe. Now, I want to touch on something. I want to explain how very easy it is to connect. And what it is most people feel like, I don't think I'm doing it right. They always question in their mind, I don't think I'm doing this right. I don't think I could do it like, Linda or Rita or Walt, but you are connected all the time. Like spirit is constantly present. It's when you go, hey, can we talk? They're there. 100% all the time. So these are some ways I do it. I start a conversation. I just start talking like we're talking. And then I breathe. And then I just sit and I listen. And sometimes it comes right away. I'll have a thought in my mind. Again, it doesn't have to be a physical voice. I'll just have a thought in my mind and I'll go, okay, got my answer. And how do you know it's the answer? You know, because it feels good. It feels truth. You know the truth. Everybody knows the truth of of what feels like truth and what doesn't. If it feels good, then you know. If it doesn't feel good, then you discard it, right? It's like when you read a book. Some of it you're going to believe. Other parts of it you may go, doesn't resonate with me. Another way would be, meditation is, I know, hard for a lot of people, but contemplation is a whole nother animal, right? So if I'm sitting at my desk and I pose a question in my mind and I sit and contemplate about it, I'll start to get thoughts and energy and spirit coming through, talking to me about, this kind of thing. And it's just as helpful. Being out in the yard the other day was a type of meditation for me. Okay. Picking the weeds. I could feel the earth humming. I can feel her speaking. You know what I mean? Or sometimes I make cookies and my hands are in the batter. And that to me is the ultimate way to connect like that. It's like, give me a batter. I can go all day long and knead and connect to spirit. I don't know what that is. Other people do it exercising. I get great energy when I exercise. Great thoughts come in when I exercise. So you are constantly connecting. You just don't know it. And all you have to do is become aware and pay attention to it. And then you'll see. And I teach this to people, especially who have, those who have crossed over, loved ones who have passed, and say, I don't feel them. I can't connect to them. You can. You absolutely can. And they may not be able to in the beginning because of the grief, but then I teach them over time how they can do that.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Josephine in the live stream was echoing exactly what you were saying, particularly toward the end there. She says, going for runs and exercises can help with breathing, but even then, sometimes when you do too much, you have to slow down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Even simpler than the bag of rice, which is a great way, especially for adults, because we put too much mind in the way of it. Whereas kids, because I teach kids karate, they just go for it. And all I do is I tell them, put your hands on your belly. Okay. Right. And put one hand on your belly, one hand on your chest. Breathe into your chest. You feel your chest rise. Now don't let the air go in your chest. Let it go down to your belly and let your belly rise. And they just pop their bellies out, right? You could feel it. So you could feel where you're breathing just by keeping your hands there. And then you can, it's just get playful. Like a little kid say, okay, what if I could just bypass my lungs and go straight down to my belly?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Well, why not? And you can feel it even just putting your hands there.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no doubt about that. By the way, Josephine also made another point. She says one of the upsides of the lockdown is the drop in pollution, and the air's turning out to be a whole lot cleaner to breathe as a result of it. And that's true.
Well, that's why I said I could hear the humming. It's like she's saying, oh, we all took a breather here. Now I could, she's already beginning the regeneration process, Mother Earth. Just by everything stopping at this moment. And we needed this. Unfortunately, sometimes us humans are thick-headed, and we need something huge to happen for us to pay attention. I'm hoping in the future that that's not the case. I'm hoping we get to a point as a collective, where we reach that higher vibration where we don't have to experience these, catastrophic type things.
Yeah, this is what my wife calls a 2x4 moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and so there's also synchronicities, which, probably everybody listening to this show are aware of, but that's an easy way to explain it to people who aren't. So if you come across people in your family who don't think that they have any kind of connection to anything, like, why do some things happen? There's nothing that happens by chance. So when you have these unique little things even a particular bird that you like to see just showing up in your experience, it's like spirit saying, yeah, we're here. We've got you. here's a little treat to help you lift your spirits to make you feel better.
Yeah.
There's lots.
Yeah. Even, you know, I always get a parking spot really close to the mall when I go, right? And, you know, people that are with me sometimes goes, how do you do it? You know, how do you get that spot? And I'm like,
one of my favorite things.
I put that intention and that energy out there to get me close to the mall.
Yeah.
You know, so that doesn't, again, Linda's right. There's nothing that happens by chance. You put it out there and you receive it. And the other thing is when you do put something out there, you have to let go of it. You can't hold on to it because when you hold on to it, nothing happens, right? So you have to let go. You have to release it, and you just have to know that it's coming. And
I think there has to be a little bit of awareness too. One of the things that it took me a while to realize this, but I tended to ignore my own manifestations because I was always looking for just the one, right? The one that I was really looking for. And then I was missing all the 50,000 others, you know? You have to kind of develop an awareness. Like there's a lot of stuff happening that you attracted all of it. And if you can kind of just say to yourself, okay, well, even if I don't know how I attracted that, I'm going to at least accept the possibility that I attracted it. If you just stay with that for a while, then you start to notice the connections on some of them anyway. You don't necessarily know all of them, but some of them you know the connections on.
Right. And also a simple thing like, you know, when you think of somebody and all of a sudden they call within the hour or that day, you'll hear from them. People don't realize that's telepathic. You put your energy out. They put their energy out. You both connected. You both did a little telepathy, and now the phone call is made. That is connection. That is the simplest connection. And I guarantee you probably everybody on the earth has experienced that. So they have to understand.
And three-quarters have dismissed it too.
What's that?
3/4 have dismissed it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Or they say, oh, look at that. How did that happen? Like they don't even think that, you know, they created that, you know?
Right.
So these are simple things to know that you can do it. No matter where you are, who you're with, you can create that.
Or just open your awareness to the fact that if this happens for other people, it happens for me too. And so when you start noticing these things, like Walt was saying, he was focusing so much on one, he wasn't seeing all the others. But just a simple thing like Rita just said with knowing someone or someone calls you or thinking about them. There's so many things like you ever think about a particular thing and then a product shows up that is a solution for that, you know, like all these kinds of things are very, very common. But I want to also get into more. So that's connecting spirit, like is working. You got a team, right?
Right.
Can't see them. Maybe some people can, but you may not see them. You may not feel them, but they're there. So they're going to send you these little treats. To me, they're like little treats. They're fun. You know, you can get, and the more you get into that childlike energy and excitement over it, well, the more they come. Because of course, it's law of attraction. We all know that. But I want to talk to too, and maybe Rita can expand on some of this. We are receiving downloads all the time. Okay, you may not be aware of it, and a lot of it comes in your sleep time, and a lot of that you can't remember either. But it's happening. So. But even just during the day, you can feel energy surges. Like I know, I've lived in California, so I know what an earthquake feels like. So now when I feel that here sometimes, I'll be like, I just felt like, literally felt the earth shift. And my husband could be next to me. I'm like, did you feel that? It was like a mini earthquake. And he's like, no. I'm like, really? Oh, I felt it. You know, you might feel things, you know, hot, cold, different, just like a buzz. Like sometimes when I'm meditating or even just before falling asleep, you can just, a lot of times when I'm meditating and I'm working on healing something, I'll just feel this buzz of energy surging through my body. And it's not there the whole entire time, but it's there throughout the times. I know that I'm being downloaded with information or something is being shifted within me to heal certain aspects that I might be talking to spirit about in my meditation. Rita, you have any other ways people can say that?
Very simply, and I teach this in some of my classes. The first thing I have people do, it's so simple, it's crazy, but you rub your hands together very fast. Rub your hands together very fast for like 30 seconds, right? Take your hands away slowly. That's vibration. That's energy. You can feel that buzz right there. If you took those same hands, rubbed them together again, and you put it on your leg, you're going to feel it. So what I do is I rub my hands together and I put it on a part of the body that's hurting. And I allow my own energy to heal that part of the body.
Yeah.
So it's simple things like that to know, because, when you say, you're getting downloads all the time, there's plenty of people out there going, what the hell is a download? Well, first you need to know you can feel that energy. So try something very simple, like the hand thing, and put it all over your body to see how you feel it. Put it on your heart, because you'll really feel it there. And your throat area and your third eye, which is by your forehead there, in the middle of your forehead. So that's a very simple way to begin to know you can feel your own energy. And then once your vibration gets more and more and raises, you'll feel a lot more. When I said I can feel the earth humming and her speaking, I could physically feel it in my body, because I had my hands in her, right? And I was weak. And she was happy. Let me tell you, because it's so true. Some of the waters are clearing up, and not a lot of pollution, because there's not a lot of flying, and not a lot of cars on the road, and people are home by a certain time, and she's enjoying the break. So these are simple things. And I'm trying to appeal to those who aren't in our field or in our world. And hopefully if they're listening, and if they're not, maybe the people that are listening can share that with them.
That's right.
The simpleness of things, because we really spirit, we complicate it in our minds, but spirit always says to me, keep it simple. A prayer is amen. You can say amen. And if you meant it with your heart, it's a prayer. Honestly, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do a rosary if you felt like doing a rosary. Don't get me wrong. Sure. I'm just saying, don't make it so difficult. Enjoy whatever it is. Run around the house saying amen. Scream it.
That's funny.
Ali, in our live stream audience, kind of tacked on to what you were saying. She said to remind yourself to be patient with the process.
Yes. Very important, because I was never one for that. I had to be.
Me too.
Yeah. I went from an A to a C, because I'm not quite a B personality, but I went from an A to like a C, like I'm in the middle somewhere, and sometimes I have to bring myself down, because when I get into that high energy. So keep it simple, people. It's really, really, you'll enjoy it if you keep it simple. If you say, oh, I got to do this 4 times a day, or, it's not going to work, or no, not at all.
Right. You know what I love? See how Rita's on this show, and like attracts like, right?
Yep.
So I always get the message, there's no right way. Find your own way and keep it simple.
That's
right. That's something I'm always teaching also. And like with the feeling energy, I have 2 other easy ways I do it, where you just kind of do the Miyagi clap and keep your hands like, just so close, and you feel that, and then you can start stretching it and playing with it. And, when you're used to it, you can just feel it. And if you lose it, come back, right? And another way I learned, Rita, was palms together, make the heart, rub the fingers, because it opens up the meridians within the hand. Same thing. You feel that buzz, and you play with it. And for the little kids, because I used to do a lot of meditation courses with little kids, I have them make a snowball, and then you put that energy, like they have a bellyache, they think their mom is upset, they can make, we would collectively, all the kids make our little balls into a big ball. It's all energy. And then we would send it to like that mom who was feeling not well or whatever.
Yeah, and you can even use colors, make a ball, a color, like yellow or pink or whatever feels good to you, and use that color for healing as well.
Because it carries the frequency of that color, and every color has different properties and functions to help people with. One more thing about feeling energy. So for some people, you can just play with a crystal. Right. And what I found, the way I first learned it was, I would up here, okay, I can't feel anything. And I was this is all new. But as I slowly put my hand towards the crystal, I could start to feel it. I'm like, whoa, this is pretty cool. I can take a crystal and just like put it across my face, and I'll feel my teeth start buzzing when it's here, right?
Yeah.
And they stop when it's there. So you can just play with ways to feel you can feel energy off of this mug. Everything has energy, right? So
right. It's interesting
play
too.
with it.
I imagine there are probably other people like me who have kind of wistfully said, well, I never see energy. How do people see energy? But I actually found a way to see energy. And I think most people can do this. You can do it just by holding the same kind of thing, holding your fingers close together and look beyond the fingers, kind of to the space between the fingers, kind of blur
That's
your
right.
eyes, and the energy will start to show up between the fingers. And you say, oh my God, I can actually see energy.
Yep. That's
Pretty cool.
great.
Yeah.
Kind of like seeing auras. I'm sure Rita's probably taught that too, where in the dim light and you could focus on something. And then if you have another person with you and if they move, you'll see the aura still lingering. Yeah.
Yep. And also, people's auras change all the time, based on how they're feeling. So, and again, it's not, it's not to get crazy about, oh, I can't see that purple color. You may start off with a white color or a clear, just like a film, for everybody, it's different. And it's really, how much do you want to, learn? How much do how far you want to take it, that kind of thing. And it's practice. It's not something that just, comes overnight. So,
now, Linda, when you sent me and Rita, you sent us a text message about some of the things to talk about today. And it was a good list. One of the things you listed was seeing faces. And that one has kind of a mixed emotion feeling for me. I'm curious to see what you're going to say about it. The reason I say I have mixed emotions about it is I had one experience a number of years ago. I'm going to say 10 to 15 years ago. We were in bed and it was in the middle of the night. And all of a sudden, in my half asleep, half awake state, I had this impression of a face coming in really, really close to me and saying, hello. And it scared the daylights out of me. I was not ready for that at all. So
right.
that was like my first experience with a face coming at me. I'm curious to know, what are you thinking about when you're talking about seeing faces?
So I'll start it off. I'm going to let Rita, because I'm sure Rita can really elaborate on it. But say like in meditation, you start to go into that astral field and there's a lot of spirit there. And so you'll see different faces come in, come out, stuff like that. And they don't necessarily have to be your guides or anything like that. They're just like spirit. And you're able to, in this state, through this eye that can see, you can start seeing that. So they might come in, for me, they come in more like a negative with color. Like it's not like I'm looking at your image right now of a face, Like this morning I had an image come to me and the eye, it was so clear. It was a rainbow. I got to find out what that is. I'm like, oh, and I was connecting to my portal energy out in the back. But anyway, Rita, you want to talk about that? Like, and also hearing. So you might hear things. So I'm trying to pay more attention because I can hear voices. I can't always make out what they're saying. So whether they're speaking to me or not, I'm not quite sure. Today I feel like they were, because I was asking for information. I wanted to learn stuff that I can help share with other people. But it doesn't have to be for any particular reason. So I want to see what Rita, you might just be picking up on this stuff because they're in that open. Yeah.
First, I want to be clear about the astral field. You're in that field when you're sleeping. So it's not unknown to you. You just are experiencing it in a different way. I find that when I'm laying in bed at night and I'm in that in-between state, it's called, right? You're not asleep, but you're not fully awake. That's when I start to get images, and most people will get images like that. Faces, buildings. I mean, I can give you all the scenery that I get that comes in, right? So you can, what does that mean? That means you're tapping in to another consciousness beyond just the physical. You're tapping into something more, and there's so much more, you have no idea. So a great way to begin to see things like that is when you're laying in bed at night and you're in that in-between state. Some people will definitely do it when they're meditating. They get into that space where they start seeing things, and they'll be listening to the meditation, and then all of a sudden they won't hear a thing. They'll be totally immersed in whatever images they're having. Okay. And the image that you had, Walt, that was, again, an energy from the other side coming in because you were wide open, came in and said, hey, I'm here. Hello. And nothing wrong with that. It's just,
Well, it was startling. I mean, literally, I can't repeat on the air what exactly I said because it was profane, but it was along the lines of, what the hell was that?
Right, right. And sometimes they'll do that. Now, there are also images you could have, like I've had images of Christ, of Mary, in a window, on a glass door, in tiles in my bathroom. I mean, these are images, other images that I've had. Mm-hmm. But with that image came the feeling of it, not just the image. Like I knew that they were there. I knew that energy was there and they were working with me. And really, you just have to ask for it because you have free will. So you get to ask Spirit anything you want. Spirit, I want to see these, lovely images. Can you help me with this? And then you start to, and then you don't just wait for it to happen. You do some type of contemplation, meditation. Also, when you're in that state of like you go into a zone, like you zone out, you're looking, someone's talking, but you're in a completely other place. You're in that astral place. Mm-hmm. And so you can get images that way as well. Daydreaming. It's daydreaming. There's so many ways to do it, but hypnosis, you'll get those visions. If you tried hypnosis, you will get them. And some people, when they get the images, it's metaphorical. And for some, it is what it is, whatever's happening. So you'll have to be able to decipher that or have someone help you decipher that if you're not sure of it.
And in my case, I wasn't sure what it was. I mean, Louise and I, obviously I woke her up because she says, "What are you talking about?" And right. So I repeated it. But we were kind of speculating because we were awake at that point. What was that? And she was asking me, who did I think it could be? And I mean, I was kind of like reaching for relatives or whatever. And I finally focused on an uncle who had died many, many years ago. I said, maybe it was him. I don't know. But I was guessing. I really had
It can be, though. It can be a loved one. It could be a spirit guide, but they usually don't come in and scare you. They won't come in like that crazy face and scare you. They're usually more gentler. Your angels are gentler. But yeah, sometimes if you had like a relative that liked to play pranks on you, they'll come in like that. No problem. Mm-hmm. So, but not to be afraid of it because nothing can happen to you unless you allow it. That's the bottom line.
Interesting you should say that about pranks because the one I thought of was my uncle. His father was, of course, my grandfather. My grandfather was the ultimate prankster. So when you said that, that's like the first thought that came, well, I wonder if it was grandpa. It could have been grandpa.
Right.
He did a thing with me when I was a kid. I was about, 5 or 6 years old. No, not even that. I was probably like 3 or 4 years old. And we were out at a restaurant. The whole family was out. They were visiting. They lived in Kansas. We lived in New York. So this was like a rare kind of a situation. And during the dessert portion of the meal, my grandfather decided to play a game with me. So he'd distract my attention, grab my ice cream, and hold it under the table. I'd look back and my ice cream was gone. And I'm looking around. I don't understand and I look again and there it is again. And he kept doing that over and over. That's the kind of prankster he was.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, the other piece I wanted to say was, hang on one second. You know how this goes. I lost it and it's going to come back, but I can't.
That's all right.
Fix it at the moment. But it was about, it's easier for people to see things when they're sleeping because they're not in their conscious state. They're in that other realm. They don't have their ego talking to them and saying there's no truth in this. So they get to experience things like, different faces or even, landscapes beyond. I tend to dream in Technicolor. So, and metaphorical. And so, I learned a lot through my dream state. Spirit was teaching me, I was exhausted the next day, but for a period of time, they were teaching me through my dreams and I would have to get up and, I'd have my pad and pen on the side of the bed. I would get up during the night, write down what I had experienced. The next day I would go over it to see what it was teaching me. And that was a good few months that they were teaching me in that way. So if spirit really needs to get to you and you're not paying attention, watch out for your dreams because they will bring it that way.
Well, that leads to a question that I brought up this topic with Linda. I'm curious to see what you say about it. Sure. I have long had difficulty imagining images in my mind. I can imagine thoughts. I can imagine abstractly. I can hear sounds really, really well. Images, very rarely can I see anything, certainly not on demand. And maybe like once every 6 months, I'll have this vivid dream where this image appears very brightly, and that's about it. Most of the time, no images at all, or very,
Right.
very faint images, like they're, in the dark with, behind a fog or something like that.
Right.
So how about for somebody who doesn't have that? What do you recommend?
Well, I didn't have that when I first began this work. I didn't have audio or visual.
Mm-hmm.
I only was clairsentient, which meant I could feel everything because I was an empath,
Mm-hmm.
and claircognizant, which was I knew things. I didn't know how, but I just knew.
Okay.
The clairvoyant, which is seeing, and the clairaudient, which is hearing, came much later.
Mm-hmm.
And how that began was the more trust I had in spirit, the more they gave me over time. Okay. So they would say to me, Rita, I tell them to call me Ree because that's what everybody calls me. Ree, think of an apple in your mind. You know what an apple looks like. If you closed your eyes and you could think of an apple, you know exactly what it looks like. Or
Mm-hmm.
a blue car. You could think of a blue car, any car, right? You could think of what the sun looks like. They started me with simple images like that so that I would get comfortable enough to see things, use my imagination, send me to the beach. I'd say I'd take myself right to the beach on a chair, palm trees. Even the temperature was a certain temperature, 72 degrees, but a slight breeze. Like I made it so particular, but the more I did that and trusted in that process, the more I felt, then the more I started to see. Okay. So for those who are not familiar with the seeing piece of it, start to use your imagination, start to visualize things you can visualize.
Yeah. And it's true,
then,
by the way. I mean, I have been working on it, and I've been, asking for help and so forth. And over time, I am getting a little bit better at it. I'm getting, like when you mentioned the apple, I can't say I saw a bright, clear picture of an apple, but I saw a dim picture of an apple, which compared to say 2 years ago was a big improvement.
That's right. That's right. And go ahead, Linda. Go.
I was going to say, what I want to add to this, and I'm sure Rita can fill in the blanks or elaborate on it, is that I used to think that I could always see. Like I can picture what this mosaic will look like before I put the pieces together. And I know what it's going to look like. Just like I think I've asked you before, Walt, can you get a picture of your cat in your mind? It's not that you're seeing an actual snapshot.
No.
So that's what the confusion is, because I used to think to myself, I am so freaking creative. I can walk into a house and know exactly what it's going to look like after I'm done decorating it. But right. I'm in this meditation and I don't see anything because I was thinking I had to see like a movie before my eyes, like I'm watching the TV.
Right.
Totally discounting all the information that was coming and the images that were there for me. But because it was like I couldn't see it, it was more like black because I'm trying to look for the picture in the nothing. It messed me up for a long time. I was thinking I couldn't see. Why can't I see images when I meditate?
Right.
But I didn't realize, and I don't remember how I figured this out or who told me, but it's that same thing. Well, can you picture your cat in your head? Yeah. But I'm not looking at a picture of her right in front of me as I'm looking at you, but I see her.
That's right.
Yeah. So Rita, I want to take that.
No. Absolutely.
In my case, it's got to be something other than a cat because my cat is black. So a black cat against black doesn't help much. I mean,
right. It'll disappear. Exactly.
Pretty much.
I think that, what you're saying is absolutely true. For everybody, it's not a snapshot. Now, for me, because I've been doing it for a very long time, I could really visualize the apple or whatever it is that I'm, connecting to. But that was practice. That wasn't something that came like right away. And there are people that are visualizers. Mm-hmm. Like they just can do that. Mm-hmm. No problem. And it doesn't take any work for them. But there are those of us that can't do that. And we need to work on it. So just every day, it's like practice. It's like anything else. Sit down, take a couple of things that you want to think about, visualize it, start like that. And the more you do it and breathe into it, mm-hmm. you'll find yourself releasing, especially if you're not doing a meditation, because then you're like, oh my God, I'm not seeing. And then all of a sudden the brain just goes. If you're just sitting there and just doing it and breathing, it'll happen much quicker.
It's reassuring to hear you and Linda and others, I've heard this from others too, talking about how practice does help improve it, that you can get better at it over time.
Absolutely. And
it makes you feel like you're not alone. Like you don't feel like you're the freak anymore, you know?
That's right. Yeah. But a lot of people don't have the patience for it. That's the thing. If they don't see it in 1 second, you know, it's that, you know, like I have to have the gratification right away. If they don't see it in that 1 second, they're not going to take the time. True. So again, it depends on how far do you want to take it.
And your friend Donna posted in the live stream, she says, indeed, trusting in the process and connecting with people as mentors is instrumental.
Yes. Yes. I have found that mentoring people along the way, because I had mentors along my path, but me mentoring people now along the way, first of all, I feel so blessed to be able to do that, be at that point where I can do that. But you are learning from them the way they're learning from you. It's like you switch roles every so often. You become the teacher and then the student, the teacher and the student. It's really a beautiful, beautiful thing.
I know. I do it 5 days a week. I love it. Yeah. Every single day I do a podcast, I'm learning from another co-host. It's wonderful.
Right? That's great. That's
so great. Linda, on your list, you also we're talking about synchronicity. Let's talk about that a little bit. Where do synchronicities fit into this conversation?
Well, we did touch on that a little bit before. It's like not discounting things that occur that you have no explanation for it, but it's like right thing at the right time. That's spirit connecting with you. That's information, you know, because everything's connected, right? So we put a desire or something out into the universe and there's no resistance there. It just comes right back to us.
Yep.
So the thing is, what Walt was saying before, if you're only looking for that thing that you asked for, you're discounting all this other stuff. So you want to just be, that's why, you know, I like access consciousness, because you just put the questions out there and you bypass the mind and not even try to figure out how it happens. You just put it out there, because then that frees you up for these little things to come in for, you know, like, it's like connect the dots, like things will fall into place. Because, you know, the universe, we live with this concept of time. And so things, and there's so many different moving pieces that it takes a little time sometimes to put something together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you can notice these little pieces coming, or just be in the joy of something silly, like, I'll tell you something I was happy dancing about today. It's so silly, but it cracked me up. And my husband was cracking up that I was cracking up, because we thought we were running out of toilet paper. And we were trying to buy it, and you can't buy it anywhere, right? But now he was going through, my husband, he's a little bit of a prepper. So we got tons of food. We got food for like 8 months a year, you know? I was trying to find a place to put stuff away. Open this one cabinet. It's full of toilet paper. I'm like, oh my God, we have toilet paper.
It's the little things.
It's the little things. And it just brought my vibrations so high. And that's, you know, of course, gratitude, but just allowing yourself to be in that silly space.
I think I think we're learning a lot of that now. Like we're learning like the little things mean more. And when you have gratitude, more of it comes.
Yeah.
But, you know, what you were saying before, Linda, about the synchronicity, in my opinion, the world is a synchronicity. It's us who stops it from synchronizing.
Yes.
The minute we put out anxiety, the minute we put out, it has to happen now, or it has to happen by this time, or if this doesn't, the minute we do that, we stop the synchronicity. But life itself, one big synchronicity. If we would be able to let go and feel that we know we're being taken care of by the forces beyond us, you watch synchronicities happen minute by minute. I promise you.
That's a great point, because actually alignment, a better word for alignment would be being in sync.
That's right. That's right. You're in your center, you have that harmonious energy going, and you ask for something and you release it. But if you ask for it and then say, well, it's got to come this way and at this amount of time, and if you start putting demands on it, I got news for you. Spirit goes, hold on, you don't really want it. When you're ready, come back and ask, let go, and we'll give it to you.
Right. Yep.
It reminds me of something that I addressed, I think it was during yesterday's show. It was a meme someone had posted on Facebook saying, be very, very careful about your words, and the way that they worded it made me want to respond. It didn't make me, obviously, I chose to respond. I wanted to say to them, well, yeah, as long as your words are in alignment with what you're feeling and what you're thinking about. But if
That's
you
right.
have words that are contradicting what it is that you're feeling and what you're thinking, what are you going to get? I mean, come on.
Not going to get anything.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get anywhere. It's
Or if
like,
you do get anything, it's going to be not at all what you were looking for.
right.
But you know what the purpose of that is? That's for, I just came to me right now. The purpose of that is so people can start to sense energy. Because a lot of times people don't know they're vibrating a whole different thing to what they're saying.
That's right.
They have this disconnect between the words and the emotion. So that's great that you answered that way, Walt, because maybe that person had no clue, and maybe now you just cracked them open to something to consider.
The emotion is so important to it, to what you put behind the intention. People don't realize. They think, oh, if I just ask, no, you have to really have that connection to it that you want it,
Yeah, and that's why letting it go serves a great purpose, because sometimes it's hard to find that connection when you start going into the fear. So I put a note here down, like wasting time and low energy. So I think that this whole quarantine, I got things I could be worried about, but I'm like, you know what? I'm just not going to spend my time there. I choose not to spend my time there because, for one, I know it doesn't make anything better. It just makes everything worse.
Right.
And I feel like this quarantine, because, I do this kind of work, right? But I have these energies. I had two big things. I talked about them in a video that I just put out, come up where they were old energies. And consciously, I don't feel that way now, but it rose to the surface. Emotion came up. I'm like, oh, okay, let me look at that and clear that, so that's another great thing that's happening through this whole experience, because when it's like you have to go within, right? So
right.
Things are going to come up. Oh, where the hell did that come from? Oh, I remember that was like 10 years ago when that situation was there,
right.
All right. So let's look at it, because energy just wants to be seen, right? Then you can start to have it move and, send love to that you back then, because, all time exists at the same time. We have the power to send healing back to something that happened in the past, which changes the whole chain of events to what's happening right now in the present. So by going back and healing that time then, even just by the concept of it, you're doing it.
That's why I love past life regression. And I love when you can, it doesn't have to be a past life. You can regress back to when, you're young. You go back and you heal a particular point in your life changes instantaneously going forward. Once you're out of that session, it's just amazing to me how that works. Amazing. Because what happens is when you're doing past life regression, you're like in a hypnotic state. You go into the subconscious. You're rewriting whatever program that you're carrying about that particular time and space. You're just rewriting the program, canceling that one, or rewriting it as you're talking, and you come back and you're like, holy cow, I just changed my whole perspective. I changed, the whole dynamic, the whole life. And then you don't repeat the same things you find yourself repeating over and over again. Cause I get that a lot. Why am I repeating the same thing over and over again? Why do I keep finding myself in this position? Because you haven't learned the lesson. And one way to do it is to go back and change things in the subconscious mind, which I happen to love. I think that it's a permanent thing when you can go back and do that for yourself. And there's many, there's 30 some odd ways you can go and change the subconscious mind.
Sure.
And I, it really all depends on what works for you. And you also have to work with somebody that you trust.
Yeah.
Well, plus you described something that you really latched onto. For you, you said it yourself. This was something that made a big impact on you.
Yeah.
So you go with the one that makes a big impact on you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And those are the ones that will come up because they need to be clear.
Yeah, right.
But I love while we're having that conversation, I was getting rolling goosebumps head to toe. So definitely there's people out there that needed to hear this particular part of this show for sure.
Fabulous. We could even go into this further next time. I know we're running shorter on time now, but
Well, actually, this ties into the last thing that was on the list that Linda gave us that I wanted to bring up. You just kind of described it viscerally, but you made a reference to feeling surges of energy. And that's kind of what that is. It's a surge of energy. But talk about that concept some more. What were you thinking about when you wrote that down?
Well, it's also what I was talking about before when I could feel the earth shake, but the person next to me didn't feel it. Don't discount these things when they happen. Like you're doing fine. All of a sudden you have this wave of heat come over you, right? Or you have this sound or this vibration. I mean, when you open your mind and your awareness to it, you'll realize and feel and sense more stuff, even though you don't know what it means. Because analytically, I don't know what any of that meant. I just knew and I trusted, all right, I'm getting a download of something. There's something important about this energy surge that I just felt. And maybe Rita can take that further.
I think we're feeling energy all the time. Again, I think it's putting your, awareness to it. And when you're feeling something, people are so, not used to feeling, because the only time they feel something is when their body hurts or, they feel sick or, then they're in the feeling mode. Other than that, they don't realize anything that's really going on around them. And just pay attention, because it's there. It's there all the time. Minute to minute. So.
Yeah, you know what? And the Goosebumps is a good example of that, because anyone, I don't care who you are, could be listening to, say, some music or something, and they feel that goosebumps.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's because you feel in such alignment with the actual energy of the universe, this love, this high vibration. And
right.
You could have no idea what any of this metaphysical stuff means, and you could have that experience.
Right.
You do have that experience. That's an example of feeling the energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good reminder right there.
Yeah. And music is great for that. One day, I'll feel like, I got to put Beyonce on because I feel like dancing. And then the next day, I feel like Barbra Streisand today. I really need to feel that. It's a different energy completely, but it's resonating with whatever I'm feeling in that moment. And my body likes it and my energy likes it. And that's where I need to be. So utilize music as much as you can.
Mm-hmm. I've been using it in a way that I hadn't used in literally years. I've been playing classical music. I haven't been playing
I love it.
in a long time. But I mean, every single day I've been playing classical music while I've been doing my stuff.
Yeah. That's great.
Because it has such a calming effect. And boy, is it effective. It was putting me to sleep, to be perfectly honest. I was so relaxed.
Not a bad thing.
Yeah. So anyway, before we do run out of time, I want to make sure that I remind our listeners who are not yet subscribers, and you are a small subset because most of our listeners are subscribers, but I want to remind you to become one. Really simple to do. If you aren't sure how to become a subscriber, just go to the homepage of our website, loatoday.net. You'll find instructions at the top of the page on exactly how to do it. For most people, it's usually 1 or 2 clicks. And then just like that, you've got all 5 episodes that we do Monday through Friday coming right to your device every single day that we publish them. And check us out on YouTube. That's where we get our live streamers who join us when we're doing the recordings, because we record this while we're live streaming to YouTube. And you can join in the conversation. I try to grab as many of the comments as I can and include them in the conversation like I did today. And you can be one of those people too. So join us in the live stream. And if I don't catch everybody, if you leave a comment, just come back next time. It just means I couldn't get everybody in, but I try to get everybody in that I possibly can. And of course, subscribing in YouTube is just as simple. You just click on the little subscribe button, click on the little silver bell next to it that gets you notified every time that we're doing a live stream or every time that we're posting a video. Kind of like what we did yesterday. Yesterday, I don't know what it was yesterday. I could not get Zoom to connect to YouTube, so we couldn't do a live stream yesterday. But what I did afterward is I just uploaded the show. So you get notified either way, regardless of whether it's live stream or an upload. Most of the time, it's a live stream. They're more fun anyway. But become a subscriber. We really like to have you part of our community because we have a great community. We got great leaders here. Linda, Rita, you guys are just amazing. What you shared with us in that last hour was fabulous.
Love working with you guys. It's fabulous. And love to work with the listeners, anybody that's listening. And I want to thank them for coming, and hearing us and enjoying. And
I want to thank Linda for bringing Rita because she got you to come here, which is wonderful. So yes, Linda, not only do you provide your own stuff, you gave us 2 for the price of 1. That's pretty cool.
Well, here's a good example of spirit leading the way. Okay. I've known Rita for quite a while, right?
Oh my God, it's years.
Yeah. In fact, you were on my podcast long time ago. I think I had you on when it was, Live LOA. What I didn't even know what it was. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. But things just kind of came into sync, right? Right time. Yeah.
And it worked out beautifully. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great weekend and a great week. And we'll talk to you on Friday. Thank you, live streamers. And thank you especially to our podcast listeners as well. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye.